listening to Facts and Fictions, where every other Sunday we dive into the books that made us feel some type of way. We take turns picking our reads, then unpack the characters, themes, and chaos. Some facts, some fictions, all feelings.
Welcome back to Facts and Fictions, the Cozy Book Club podcast, where we talk about the books we're reading, the thoughts we have on them, and any little stories that come up along the way. My name's Morgan.
My name's Desiree, and this week we are discussing Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt.
Yeah, this was an excellent read. I was so skeptical going into it.
I was as well. I honestly didn't know much about the book before I read, and an octopus as a character.
Yeah, that's like the only thing I knew going in, is that one of the main characters, one of the main narrators, is an octopus. I feel like I haven't read a book with an animal narrator since high school. I think Animal Farm was the last one I could really think of.
Oh,
Charlotte's
Animal
Web.
Farm, yeah.
Yeah.
Throwback. Actually, that's really a popular book these days.
Yeah. Very timely.
Yeah. This book is a pretty heartwarming story about a woman named Tova kind of navigating her grief and who's working at an aquarium. There's this octopus, Marcellus, who's a big part of the story, and the storyline is her side of the story, and then we also meet someone named Cameron, young man, well, he's a 30-year-old who's kind of at a crossroads in his life and is one of those people who inevitably loses each job they have, isn't super reliable. His girlfriend breaks up with him and throws all of his things out of their apartment. Kind of one of those people. So, Morgan, as you started reading this book, were you taken to it right away, or did it take you a little bit to get into it?
I actually got into it pretty quickly, which surprised me. That's like another thing. When I'm reading, a lot of times I like narrators that I feel like I can relate to. So I'm looking for women in their 20s or 30s. So reading a book with like Tova, she was in her 70s. Yes. I didn't think I was going to connect as well as I did, but I connected to her really quickly.
I did too. I loved her character.
So did I. Oh, did you cry reading this book? Because I cried a lot.
I didn't cry, but I definitely felt emotional.
Yeah, so Topa's like navigating just like heartbreak after heartbreak. One of them happened 30 years ago when her son Eric died under mysterious circumstances. And then present day, her husband had recently died, and then her brother died. And it was just, there's a lot of heaviness. And I just felt for her.
Definitely a lot for one person. The loneliness of an older person is always a bit emotional and scary.
It is scary. I was thinking a lot about like my grandma throughout reading it. I mean, she's got, obviously, like Tova didn't have anyone left. She was the last in her lineage, but it's just like an old lady living alone, like navigating day to day. It was sad. There's a quote I actually copied down that made me really sad, that made me cry. It was like talking about how she didn't have like any grandkids or anything, and it said, "Some trees aren't meant to sprout tender new branches, but to stand socially on this forest floor, silently decaying."
I remember that.
Yeah, that one brought tears to my eyes.
There was some positive people in her life, though, which I enjoyed. Did you like the nitwits?
Yeah. I was thinking, as like, when I was reading it, we need like to expand our circle so that way when we're in our 70s, we can have a cute little brunch group.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
So did I.
Author said that part of the character, Tova, is based on things about her grandma. The nitwits was an actual name of her group of friends, which I thought was adorable.
Yeah, that is adorable.
Obviously, the kind of standout thing about this book that makes it super unique is Marcellus having his parts of the story where he's talking, and I really enjoyed that. I feel like he came in at a point where you kind of needed a let up from the heaviness, and I feel like that's why I really ended up enjoying that, which going into it, I wasn't sure how I would respond to having the animal.
Yeah,
character.
I liked the characterization of him, how like he's just so intelligent and like perceptive and observant, and you're getting, a lot of times when you've got like the human narrators, there's a lot of emotion behind what they're saying. He's just like very matter of fact, and I think that lended itself really well to like moving the story along and like getting facts without it just like being told to you in the book. You're getting a perspective that's just not one you're really used to.
Definitely.
I switched to the audiobook pretty quickly because TikTok recommended it. So I was like, when I was had started, I might have been 20 pages in. And then I was looking for what people thought of it on TikTok, and everyone's like, you have to listen to the audiobook, which sometimes I'm like reluctant if I already bought like the actual book, but I did download the audiobook, and I thought it was fantastic. And I think I listened to it all throughout, mostly just one day. It spilled into the second, but I got it knocked out pretty quick because I was pretty enamored with it.
I read on my Nook mostly, but the last like 2 or 3 chapters I did audiobook because I'd also seen people mention that, and I wanted to have that perspective to talk about. But I do kind of regret not switching over or even just listening to it on audiobook in general, because I really enjoyed the audio.
Yeah, the voice actors for it were just incredible. I love in audiobooks when they do have more than one person reading.
Me too.
I think it just like is so immersive.
It lends so much to the experience.
Yeah. Especially if there's going to be a main female character and a main male character. It takes me out of a story like an audiobook when I'm listening, and if it's like a female narrator and then she's like trying to do the male voices, I never really am super into that.
Agreed. Obviously, we're told outright by Marcellus. He's kind of trying to guide them to figuring out that Cameron is Tova's grandson. But did you kind of see that coming?
I did, and that was like the biggest criticism I saw people like online have. But I kind of like when you're able to see it coming. I'd rather a book make me feel smart than dumb. Like if I was like blindsided by it, that's not gonna make me feel good. I liked that there were like little breadcrumbs that we got.
Yeah, you get to experience like the anticipation, like, oh, how are they gonna figure it out? I enjoyed that too.
Yeah, I like being in on the secret rather than it drives me nuts like when books like there's no way you could have expected. Like I just like being in the know a little bit, and I think yeah, I prefer that. I guess some people online didn't, but I really enjoyed that aspect.
We kind of found that out about halfway through the book, and then the rest of it was just after the fact.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was nice being able like just getting like the breadcrumbs, like at that first suspicion, like wait a minute, and then it makes this book like even more heartwarming because you do get like the storytelling at the beginning of how Tova's family line like is gone, like she's the only one left, and then it's like oh, but just wait, and that feels really good to find out. And yeah, I was like definitely in my feels reading it, so there's like a lot of tears for me throughout the whole process.
Yeah. What did you think of Cameron as a character?
I thought he was likable. Like, it's not somebody I would have wanted to date or anything like that, but he's somebody I was rooting for, and I like you can tell he's like intelligent, and he just was dealt a bad hand. And there's like I don't think I copied that quote down, but there's a quote about that. Like, it's not the hand you're dealt; it's how you play it. That's like paraphrasing, which I think his aunt told him that. Maybe somebody told him that, and I agreed. But also like he started a few steps behind, and you saw so much growth throughout the book.
Yeah, I also felt like he was a likable character, and I really wanted him to win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she did a good job like writing him as like an underachiever, a little bit of a bum, but like a lovable bum.
Yeah.
Like somebody you really want to see succeed and get to where they need to be, and he got there, which was nice.
Yeah. In the interview that I watched of the author speaking about the book, she referred to him as a loser.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he, had his issues and, commitment problems in multiple areas of his life, but I didn't really see him as a loser. He just seemed lost.
Yeah, he was finding his way, and I feel like she might have seen him that way because she knows him better than anyone. So she's got like all this backstory in her head about him leading up to that. But yeah, he got where he needed to be, and it's nice having a character to root for that you can still really like. I feel like a lot of times in books that type of character isn't likable. Like they're unambitious, they're like failing in a lot of areas, and they're also a jerk. But he was like a little sweetie, so you want him to win.
I agree. I also really enjoyed the character Ethan.
Yeah.
He's a quirky guy, kind of has a little bit of a crush on Tova, which I found cute. And then he ends up being a huge help to Cameron, and I really liked that connection that they made. Really, that's probably exactly what Cameron needed at that time.
Yeah, definitely. I thought, Ethan was a remarkable character. He was like so likable. He was also a little annoying, but just like so sweet. Like old man crushes are always going to be cute to me. And then he's like a little gruff, but like taking Cameron under his wing. I liked. He was like so necessary to the book.
Absolutely.
And like such a well-developed character for not being like a main protagonist.
Absolutely.
That's like one thing I really enjoyed about this book was how well developed all of the characters were, which you don't always see, and like that doesn't make a book bad if they aren't. A lot of times they put all of that effort into like developing the protagonist, and everyone else is just kind of like an afterthought. But I feel like she put a lot of care and attention into each character, which made it really fun to read.
I agree.
It was probably, I think he was my favorite non-main character. Like I liked Aunt Jan. Do you say that Jean or Jan?
Jean, maybe? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I liked the aunt a lot, but I think Ethan had my heart for the side characters.
Yeah. Gosh. One thing I really thought about a lot as reading the book with Tova kind of over the course of 30 years, never feeling settled with the fact that her son Eric committing suicide. She never believed that.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine
Yeah.
sitting with that for so long and like knowing in your heart that that just couldn't be the case. Gosh.
Yeah, not having answers, like that's so devastating. That's so sad. And just like I feel like it makes me think. I compare everything to Taylor Swift songs, but I was just thinking like "Help, I'm still in the restaurant,"
Oh
and like
my
everyone else is
gosh.
moving on.
That's one of my number one like favorite songs that she's ever written.
It's so good.
It's so good. Are you gonna
Yeah.
start crying?
I might. I cried so much with this whole book.
Yeah.
And just like so much.
I'm honestly surprised I didn't cry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't. I'm like a huge crier. I cry at everything, so I'm really surprised I didn't cry. I don't know why I didn't.
I think it didn't help with his name being Eric. Like I just lost my cousin with like that same name, similar age, and it's just like. So I was also comparing Tova a lot to my aunt, and like thinking about that, and just like, and then also how Tova's all alone. So when we lost my cousin, I'm not gonna cry, but I was like looking around because all the cousins are there, like at services and stuff, and I was like, one of us is gonna have to do this 20 more times, and it's
Stop.
just, I know, it's like I'm not gonna cry,
Yeah.
and like it's just like that's crazy. Like one of us
Yeah.
will be like the last cousin.
Mhm.
That's nuts and just
Yeah.
like so sad. And so I was definitely in my feels. It was like that was like a very fresh experience losing my cousin when we were reading this, and then he had the same name, spelled differently, but same name. So there's a lot of comparisons I was able to draw.
Yeah.
Look at me now
Aw.
crying hardly. This is out of character. Like I would have expected to be sobbing. So
Yeah. I mean, this was a wonderful book, but definitely probably a really hard one for you.
it was definitely heavy when I saw that like the dead son's name was Eric. It's like, are you kidding me? I don't know. I'm like, I almost texted you, but it's like I'm gonna see 15 more pages and see how I'm doing. So it's like we might have to delay this one.
Yeah.
I did fine, and I feel like it's actually a little like therapeutic in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, this book I was like, I feel like it's one I needed to read. Perfect
Well,
timing.
I love that for you then.
Yeah, it was hard but healing.
We've read so many books about grief.
I know.
Like we've read so many books about grief.
I feel like it's a topic relevant to everybody. Like everybody can relate, and it's heavy.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy how much grief a single person experiences in a lifetime.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too with all of this. It's like, and it doesn't get easier, it just gets different. That's me and a few of my cousins were talking about it. It's like, how are the adults handling this so well? And it's like they've practiced. This isn't their first rodeo with this. And for all of us, it was like the first young person in our life we'd lost.
Mm-hmm.
But they've like been there, done that. And it's not that they're handling it well, they're just like better at compartmentalizing. And I feel like reading books like this are almost like an exercise in that, and like seeing, even with it being fictional, like things keep moving along and you got to as well, or you will just be stuck in the restaurant. Grief is wild. It's like inescapable, and that's so sad. Not to keep talking about it, but like seeing like all the little kids too at the services. It's like you wish you could protect them from ever feeling that, but it's like that's gonna be the first of many. Not to get things too heavy on the podcast.
I feel like the way that she spoke about Tova and her experience with grief was just in a very relatable way.
Yeah, definitely. She was so relatable to me, which I did not expect with like a 70-year-old woman protagonist. Usually I need to like read people who I've been in their shoes before, but somehow like I am so excited for her to put out more books because the way she does her characters is just so unlike I feel like any book I've read recently.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not always somebody who gets obsessed with like the character driven books. Usually I need plot driven, but no, this one, like spoiler alert, 5 stars for me. I've thought about it every day, I think, since I finished reading it, like in one way or another. Yeah.
I just finished it yesterday, so
yeah, I can attest to that. Yeah, I think I've a little over a week, so it hasn't been like that long. It's not like I've been thinking about it for months, but and I think part of it was just because it was such a timely read for me.
It's so impressive that this is her debut novel.
I love reading authors' debut novels, and usually I don't get my foot in the door until I've read a few of their more recent ones. So it's kind of like I feel like we're ahead of the curve reading this, and we'll be able to be like, yeah, we read the debut when she's got like 5 more bestsellers out.
Yeah, this is definitely something that was in her that needed to be put on paper. It was good.
I also, so this book, I've already said, it's like sparked a lot of really big emotions. I had kind of like an actual panic attack reading about her relationship with her brother Lars. and like how that relationship just like stopped existing. And I said, that's so sad. And like just like how many things can change. And it's like when she was my age, would she have ever expected that relationship to go away? And we don't really find out exactly what happened.
Yeah, and the way she explained it, nothing happened really.
Yeah.
They just stopped talking. And did you find her wanting to potentially go move to the place he passed as a way of her trying to connect with him?
Yeah.
Okay, that's how I took it as well.
I feel like that was like sparked by maybe a little bit of regret, and she wanted to know the places that he knew and the people he knew. Maybe
I felt the exact same way.
there was like a quote when she was talking about it, like how there was no good reason, where it just said the years stretched into decades, turning siblings into strangers, and like that's when like my throat closed up and like I couldn't breathe because I was like, that's so scary. Like I hope that doesn't happen with me and my brother. It's like I can't imagine that it would, but like what if?
Yeah.
That's so sad.
It was very surprising to me that even after they had not been in contact, she just lost her husband, a couple years ago. So the fact that that didn't spark
Yeah.
contact was very surprising and eerie.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, and I'm wondering if maybe like when she lost her son, maybe she shut everyone off and he took that personally. I don't know. I think it's easy to take people's grief personally if you're not like looking at it through a bigger lens than your own, because like nobody's going to act the way you expect them to when they're grieving. So I could see that like if she was like shutting herself off from everyone outside of her, maybe Lars didn't handle that well, and just not to blame him, we don't know, but that was just my assumption.
Okay, something a little less sad. I loved the aquarium aspect.
Oh, I know. It made me want to go to an aquarium.
Me too.
It also made me a little sad because like Marcellus is counting his days of captivity, but it also made me want to go to the aquarium. I haven't been to an aquarium since I was maybe 9.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I've been to the Shed Aquarium, but it was. Have you been there before?
No, I haven't.
We should totally go to the Shed
We should do a
Aquarium.
Chicago trip.
Yeah.
The last one I went to was up in Minnesota when I was really little. They've got like a Great Lakes one. And they let us pet stingrays. I still have that sticker somewhere that says I pet a stingray.
Cute. I liked how, we kept returning to the aquarium and obviously Marcellus, but I loved how the aquarium was for Toba. I felt like it was a safe space for her.
Yeah.
I really liked that.
Like just like keep her mind and her hands busy, and I loved her first interaction with Marcellus escaping. Like that she's like keeping his secret. That's so cute. And I try to like put myself in her shoes. I'm like, what would I do? And I'm like I feel like more empathetic with animals than I am humans. So I'm like, I probably would keep the secret too, since he did make it back safely. He obviously knows what he's doing. But
yeah,
I thought that was really sweet. I liked that interaction a lot.
Me too. I just loved Marcellus.
I know. One of my favorite things he said, because like he says everything so matter of fact and like repeats things, where he goes, "What can I say? I am a special guy after all." When they're talking about how he's like gaining weight that he shouldn't be. And it's like somebody must have said that about him, and he took it as fact. Like, I am a special guy.
Yeah.
I love him.
I loved him too.
I was glad he got freedom at the end.
Me too. Oh, I was really stressed out. Cameron's first interaction with Marcellus when he was like shoving the broomstick at him. I was like, oh no,
not our Marcellus.
No, don't hurt him.
Yeah, but I could also relate to Cameron. He's like, what am I supposed to be doing with this right now? But definitely Team Marcellus there. It's like, if one of them gets hurt, it better be Cameron.
Yeah, thinking about Cameron, because he had already started off on a bad foot with the Graham boss, and he's like, not the octopus literally escaping when I'm on duty. Panic attack.
Yeah, so Tova, that was good timing for her to like sweep in and save the day, and then it comes full circle and seems so sweet. Like Grandma saving the day, but she didn't realize it at the time.
I love that so much.
It was so healing. It was just like, they needed each other so badly. Like both of them were missing that aspect.
Healing is the word for this book, I feel like.
I agree. It was like heavy, but in a light way. Like the themes were heavy, but then they're written well enough and like developed well enough that you get light after the storm with it. So I feel like a lot of books just leave you feeling heavy. This one isn't that way.
Finding out that they were related, and I was excited to see how it played out because I really wanted Tova to have someone come into her life after she felt like she was the last one and she didn't have anybody, and Cameron was desperately searching for familial connect. You can't get time back, and I feel like that is a very sad part of it.
Yeah, and like in the book she's talking about how she'd saved Eric's toys for all those years, like at first because it's like, oh, for my grandkids one day, and then she just couldn't get rid of them after he died, and then she did get rid of them. I'm like, oh, Not that Cameron would have wanted those toys as a 30-year-old man, but it was just so incredibly sad that like she was robbed of those years with them, and then it creates that resentment towards like Cameron's mom, who's like got all of her own struggles. It's like, oh, she could have healed so much of Toba by coming forth with that information. Like, of course, you're so sad for Cameron's mom because everything she's going through, but I don't know if it's fair to say, but there was like that selfishness. Like, she robbed Cameron of that relationship with his grandma and his grandpa, and then robbed them of knowing that they even had a grandson.
Yeah, and I feel like if I was Cameron, I definitely would have a lot of resentment.
Oh yeah, over that. I think from the perspective of a child of their mother, that's unforgivable. Like from the outside looking in, I almost feel like, it's not for me to judge because she did have her own struggles, but it is for her child to judge. And like, yeah, unforgivable. I can't imagine. It's just the feelings of like betrayal. And he already has those feelings with her leaving and disappearing. And now he's got to like cope with the fact that she robbed him of these relationships.
Knowing all of that and made me, I think that's another reason why I just love Cameron as a person so much, even though he's unreliable and aspects of his personality aren't the best, but like it's not for no reason. I think that one of the reasons I really enjoyed this book was because we were able to see Cameron's backstory and see it through to brighter days. Another part of the book that made me really sad for him as well was Trio of Friends, and the other two ended up getting married and they're having a baby, and that was his family. So while they seem to still be very supportive of him, they're very much in pursuit of their own family.
Yeah, and then his friend leaves the band.
And yes, and he left the band. And gosh, Tova and Cameron were just, I feel like they were going through such similar emotions and scenarios, just on different wavelengths.
There's so much they're like to connect over and to relate to, and like I feel like their wounds, they've got the same wounds from like being left, being alone. And again, like with Cameron with his friends, like getting married, having a baby, moving on, it's help. Still at the restaurant.
Yes.
That song was just like on repeat in my head. This book, it's just like so sad.
Yeah. I want Cameron and Tova to continue building their cutest relationship and spend all the time together. And
like Tova's still so spry, and like she had her little incident, but that wasn't like a big deal. She's got lots of life left in her.
Yeah. I was so sad though that she sold the house.
I know.
Like I'm thinking in my head, no, like cancel the contract, make a plea to the people who are buying this that they don't need it and you need it because you and Cameron need to live here.
I know, that made me so sad. Like part of me is hoping like something was gonna fall through and stuff. I'm like, this is real life. Like I feel like to make the story believable, like of course
she would have to lose
the house. Yeah, the timing was just wrong, and I feel like it's just like another loss. But then, like in comparison to all the losses she's had, it probably feels like nothing from like compared to what she's gained like these past few months with her relationship with Cameron. I don't know. We're always talking about like sequels and stuff, but if there's another book, I'd love to see him just doing so well.
Yeah, what do you envision for him after this?
I don't know, and it's I was thinking a lot about like Avery. Like, did they make it? Or are they end game? It's like I don't know. I like Avery a lot.
I like Avery too.
Just it's hard to imagine Cameron as like a stepdad. But I feel like he just needs like a little more growth. And if they are end game, I don't see Avery wanting to like rush into like getting married or anything. So he would have time to learn the ropes of that. But whether they're end game or not, I do think we'll see him have a lot of personal development in his 30s. And, like really find himself and like heal from his past. And I don't think Shelby would describe him as a loser in his 30s. I think they'll be left behind in his 20s.
I agree. I think this is just a true turning point in his life. I loved the aspect of small town.
Oh yeah.
I always really enjoy books with a small town.
Yeah, small town gossip with Ethan.
Yeah, and just the people in a small town, like the surf store owner.
Oh and, yeah.
I don't know. I love that. It's maybe that comes from like I love Gilmore Girls.
Oh yeah.
And I love the small townness before everything gets corporate and caught up and
it just feels more like authentic and pure.
How did you feel about Marcellus's ending?
I was glad he got released and got to go back to, and I'm also glad that we found out he was a rescue. So it wasn't like he could have lived his whole life out in the sea and been fine. Like, he needed to be plucked up and saved by the aquarium. Because it was making me sad, him like talking about his captivity and all of that. So it's nice he gets full circle. He started his days in the sea and he's going to end his days there. It made me sad for Tova because it's like she's going to miss him so much.
Mm-hmm.
But she did the right thing. I liked that she's the one who freed him.
Agreed.
Like, I would have loved to also see him escape, but I think that would have hurt Tova. Like, having her play a hand in it, I think was good.
Yeah, and we don't need any more unknowns for Tova.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that would have made me really sad if he escaped and she didn't get like a proper goodbye with him.
Yeah.
Because he was like so integral to her beginning this healing journey.
Relationship of animals and like people going through hard things is not talked about enough.
Oh yeah, animals are so perceptive.
They are.
And so just healing and loving.
Yeah, and when you're going through a hard time and you have the stability of an animal, like there's just nothing that compares.
I know.
Yeah.
It's and also like they make you go through that rhythm of like getting your day going no matter how bad you're feeling. Like, you have to get up and get them outside, get them fed, get them watered. Not the same for an octopus, but you need to clean his tank.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure he hasn't escaped. But
Yeah,
animals are an underappreciated gift.
it just makes you wonder, like, you know, how she came to the conclusion of an octopus.
Yeah, I need to watch like interviews with her. I was reading a few, but I'd love to like hear her speak.
Yeah, I'll send you one. I listened to one. There's a book club host that did an interview with her, and it was interesting. Another thing that I found interesting was she was asked if she had as she was writing, did she have pretty much the entire plot, figured out and everything, and she said no.
Oh, that's fun. So just kind of
It was as she went. She didn't really know what was.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It was such a well thought out story that really surprised me.
Yeah. I wonder, did she say how long it took her?
No, she didn't.
That'd be interesting to know too.
I do think, or actually, I think she said she had been working on it for years.
Oh my gosh.
It might have been something she put on the back burner and then came back to.
Yeah. Okay. So she had like lots of time to think about it. I wonder how much like of her day it consumed thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would have to be a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know what this is her debut novel, but I don't know. I'd be interested to know kind of about her as a person in general and kind of what perspective she has like going into this book, really.
Yeah. That would be interesting. And just like why it was like set where it was and all of that. And I know you mentioned she's from the Chicago suburbs.
I think she lived in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, okay.
At some point in her life, I think she said.
So that makes sense why it would be set there.
Yeah.
And then was his name Simon? The guy who moved back to Pacific Northwest from Chicago with his like girlfriend? I might be making the name up. That was probably just like a little nod to where she's at now.
Oh. I don't remember that.
They were like at a restaurant and they're talking. I don't remember all the details of that. But somebody had just moved back from the Chicago suburbs. They're not from Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, hopefully she's working on her next book.
I know.
I'd be interested to see. I feel like this is a very successful book. So there's probably a lot of pressure.
Probably. I would be so anxious. Like, what if people don't like the next one?
Yeah.
And, like, it's such a one-of-a-kind concept, too. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of pressure to come up with another one-of-a-kind concept.
Yeah. Probably it'll take her a couple of years, really.
Yeah. I think I'd rather see a new book from her first before a sequel to this one.
Definitely.
I'd love to see what she would do with it. I'd love to see a sequel for it, but I'd be more excited for like a brand new book, brand new characters.
And do you foresee her going with the similar, like introducing an animal?
I don't know. I feel like if I were in her shoes, I would be nervous to do that because Marcellus is so lovable, and that was such like
just perfection.
Yeah. I feel like there'd be a lot of pressure to do another animal protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question.
But then it's like, then where do you know?
Yeah. And I'd almost, if she is going to do it, it might be even better to do a prequel than a sequel. Just like we have like those interactions, like we know that Marcellus like encountered Eric after he had drowned, and getting like the backstory could be interesting.
Oh, I don't know if I could handle that.
I know it'd be heavy. That was like something, because we never really find out quite what happens to Eric. Which, I mean, like, of course you're curious, but I also feel like that was like a very intentional thing where we're just like, and that's another way we can relate to Tova. Nobody really knows. Except maybe Daphne.
Yeah.
Do you think Daphne's still alive?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I feel like she couldn't have abandoned her kid for that long.
That's how I feel like my gut goes towards no.
I want her to be so they can get closure and answers, but I don't think she is.
Realistically, if truly she was on the path of, what was explained to us, realistically, I think probably she didn't have a very happy ending.
Yeah. Yeah, she probably just took an answer she had with her. So Simon, that wasn't who I meant to say for at the restaurant. Simon was the one that Cameron thought was his dad.
Oh yeah.
So I just got the names wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when he went to see Simon, he said he hadn't seen her in a long time. I was sad when Simon wasn't his dad, because like that's such an awkward interaction for him too.
Simon was very kind.
He was very kind.
That was nice, because he could have been. You know what kind of came to mind with Cameron going to find his long lost dad, Elf.
Oh my gosh, I can see that.
Because I mean, I'm glad it didn't go the way that Elf did.
Yeah.
But his dad was powerful and whatever, and Simon he thought was a very rich and powerful guy in the real estate business. But I really appreciated that he was kind to him and their interaction.
It kind of made me sad that he'd never reached out before. I feel like I would have if I were Simon, because like he knew that Cameron existed and knew that his mom wasn't doing well, and I feel like he almost could have been an uncle figure if he'd have wanted to step up and do that, since he was so close to Daphne. But I feel like also men and women are different in that way.
I think that, and I also think that people can underestimate the good that could come from them, like taking the first step.
Yeah.
Even though it might have been a little bit awkward for Cameron, obviously. I don't know how Cameron would react to this man trying to enter his life. He might brush it off, but I think a lot of times people just don't really realize what an impact they could have by reaching out in a case like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it could have done Cameron a lot of good throughout his youth to just have somebody who could like step in for like an extra familial role.
Speaking of Jean, I loved her too.
I know, she was fantastic. He was lucky to have her, and it's like if he didn't, like where would he have been?
She was his steady person.
Yeah, just somebody to step up and look out for him when his mom couldn't, and then his dad wasn't around because he was dead, which he didn't know at the time, which is like that's so sad too. Like so much of his hurt could have just been solved with like communication. And I know a lot of that communication, it's hard to navigate when they're children, but you gotta have the hard conversation.
Kid never really even thinks about having people around them that really care about them. Something you don't think about, but it's something that becomes super important when you are questioning yourself as a young person.
Yeah, and just like how many people are on your side, how many people have supported you and like rooted for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, Cameron could count on one finger, like how many adults in his life were there for him, and that's just it's devastating to think about.
Yeah, and I think that really comes into play with the fact that Cameron has, for example, none of his jobs have really ever worked out. And I feel like for someone who doesn't have people in his life that ask him about what's going on and what are you up to and whatever, he has no one to answer to.
Yeah.
And that I think plays a huge part in his mindset on not following through on.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I feel like I'm naturally kind of like a lazy person, but I'm also somebody who wants to make my dad proud. So a lot of times I'm like, okay, he's going to be asking me how things are going. I need to have an answer that's not going to disappoint him. So I feel like a lot of that is just like, I'm an adult myself now, but I'm still worried about like what the next generation of adults are thinking about me. And like my grandma, I need to make sure she's proud of me.
Well, your grandma's always gonna be
Yeah,
proud
I
of you,
know. But I like telling her things she can tell her friends. That's like where any ounce of ambition I have is coming from. Mostly just them. Because I would love to just like lay in bed and make that my personality, but I can't.
my year of rest and relaxation.
Yes. Yes. I could definitely see myself thriving in that rhythm for at least a little bit. So I already said I gave mine a 5 stars. What did you give your
I did a 4.5. It took me just a little bit to get into it,
Oh yeah.
but overall, I loved it a lot, and it was definitely an amazing book, and I'm glad that we read it.
Yeah. I wonder what I would have given it if I didn't feel like it was like so perfectly timed in my life.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I had to do the 5
Yeah.
for that reason. It made me feel so many things.
Yeah. And by the way, just a reminder, we log and rate our books on Storygraph. So
Yes.
you can follow us there.
Yeah, follow us on Storygraph. I feel like I have a few I need to catch up on Storygraph. I've gotten lazy this year.
You better get on.
I know, I'll catch up.
I'm not very good about, because I know some people are super great about logging their pages, so their progress is tracked throughout the month, because they do the monthly recaps and it will show you the pages you've read each day. But I'm not great about that, but I am pretty good about logging once I finish the book.
Yeah.
So I like the satisfaction of seeing it on my list.
I feel pressured to do like the ratings and all of that, and that's what makes me procrastinate doing it.
Yeah. I do get a little stressed. I get a little stressed about writing out the answers to the actual questions. I don't get so stressed about the star rating, but do you go through and answer?
That's like where my pressure comes from.
Okay.
So I skip it a lot and then I feel guilty about it.
I skip it too. I'll pick and choose what I want to do.
Yeah. So I just need to go do my stars and not worry about everything else.
But then it's funny because if I'm looking at ratings on a book, I always click only look at the ratings that have commentary with it. And
I know.
And it's funny because I don't even provide the commentary myself, so it's a bit contradictory, but
The same way.
whatever. Do you want to do fan cast?
Yes, I'm excited about this. I feel like when I was doing them last night, I think we're going to be on the same page. Like, especially, I don't know. I feel like we've chosen the same people. Maybe not.
Okay. We'll see. Okay, you go first. Tova?
Tova. For Tova, I did Meryl Streep.
Oh, that's a good one. I did Helen Mirren.
Oh, I like
So
her.
very similar.
Yes. Yeah. I love Meryl Streep.
I love Meryl Streep too. That's a really good pick. Good pick. Honestly, I know I didn't do Jean, but I think I would probably do Meryl Streep as Jean.
Oh, that would be good. I did Molly Ringwald.
As Jean?
Yeah.
Oh,
That was mine.
that's good.
I love her too.
Cameron?
Cameron. I struggled with Cameron. I ended up with Austin Butler.
Okay.
Who did I had Joe Alwyn, Austin Butler, and there's one more that I was between. But I ended up with Austin Butler.
Okay. I am a little bit out of left field, but I do feel this is a very good one. Have you seen everyone talking about Dylan Efron?
No, I haven't.
So it's Zac Efron's brother, and he is, I don't know if he's acted or whatever, but he was just on Traitors. Have you heard of Traitors, the show? You haven't heard of Traitors?
No.
What the heck? Traitors is this show where celebrities and reality TV personalities go on, they go to this like location, and there's a few of them are designated as traitors, and then the rest of them are called faithfuls, and the entire game is the faithfuls trying to root out the traitors in the group. Anyways, it's a very, very popular show.
Okay.
People are obsessed with it. I've watched only a few episodes actually, but he just won Traitors.
Nice. I think part of me, since I chose Tova, is the grandma. I was trying to think of like somebody who had like similar features. Or I chose Meryl Streep as Tova, I mean.
Yeah.
So that definitely colored my choices. I was looking for little blonde cuties.
A blonde man actor, there's a small pool, I feel like.
Yeah.
But Austin Butler would be good, as long as he kicked his Elvis accent.
Yeah, he's gonna have to get rid of the Elvis. I wish I could remember the third one I was debating. But I don't know. It's gone.
Yeah. Austin Butler and Joe Alwyn are so totally in the same vein.
Yeah. Yeah. At first, yeah, I had Joe, and then I was like, he kind of seems kind of old because everyone was mistaking Cameron, thinking he was younger than he was.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone's thinking Joe was 24.
Probably not.
And I don't think that with Austin either. I wish I could remember. No, it's okay.
Ethan.
I did Pierce Brosnan.
That's a really good one.
And that was like, and I love him with Meryl Streep from Mamma Mia.
Yes, I did Hugh Grant.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Mine.
Yeah.
Avery.
I had Dove Cameron.
Ooh, she was on my short list.
Oh, really?
Yep. I didn't pick her, but I picked Haley Lou Richardson. I don't know if you know who that is.
Mm-mm.
She was on White Lotus. Do you watch White Lotus?
I don't watch it now.
Gosh, you don't watch enough TV.
I don't.
This is her.
Oh, she's good.
Yeah. I was really searching for someone who gave Surfer Girl vibes.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah. And then Marcellus.
I had Morgan Freeman just voicing him.
For voicing.
Yeah.
I didn't do a voice. I just picked a cute octopus that I liked. So we'll throw it up on the screen for you. But I like Morgan Freeman. I like Morgan Freeman for anything.
And I was thinking, I was like, who's gonna be like the next iconic voice? Like Morgan Freeman's not. He's like in his 80s.
I know.
I did not realize that until I was googling him. When he's done voicing things, like who's gonna be like that new go-to?
I don't know. Well, maybe the guy who voiced Marcellus on the audiobook.
There we go. Make him the next Morgan Freeman. Perfect.
That's a fun fan cast.
Yeah, I had really enjoyed going through and choosing them all.
Yeah, I liked the how the characters were all so unique.
Definitely. That was a fun one to do. Yeah. I didn't struggle the way I do with some of the books. I feel like she did such a good job developing them.
Yeah, it gives you a good idea of, allows you to really visualize.
Yeah, sometimes when we're doing the fan casts, I can't think of one person, but this one I was like, just the biggest struggle was like, okay, narrowing it down between like 3 or 4, like who's actually going to be the best for this character.
Love it.
Love it. Okay, so those are our thoughts on Remarkably Bright Creatures. We will be back in 2 weeks talking about The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. If you want to read to catch up and keep up with us, we'll be discussing that soon.
Bye. Thanks.